From the very beginning, the Church has chosen the word Lent to describe these 40 days and 40 nights before the greatest feast of the Church, the Resurrection, Easter. The word means spring. Why does Lent mean spring?
There's a wonderful poem by the 17th century English poet George Herbert that I think is especially fitting for Ash Wednesday. Much like a gospel parable, it's based on a very ordinary analogy from everyday life. God, or love with a capital L, warmly greets the poem's speaker, just as a good innkeeper welcomes a weary traveler to enjoy his hospitality. But the speaker-traveler is not quite ready. Here's the poem. Love bade me welcome, yet my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. But quick-eyed love, observing me grow slack from my first entrance in, drew nearer to me, sweetly questioning if I lacked anything. A guest, I answered, worthy to be here. You shall be he. I, the unkind, ungrateful, ah, my dear, I cannot look on thee. Love, smiling, took my hands and did reply. Who made the eyes but I? Truth, Lord, that I have marred them. Let my shame go where it doth deserve. And know you not, says love, who bore the blame? Ah, my dear, that I must serve. You must sit down, says love, and taste my meat. So I did sit and eat. The speaker declares himself to be guilty of dust and sin, and so might seem to be the ideal penitent for Ash Wednesday. After all, it's the day when we say the stark but powerful phrase, "Remember you are dust, and to dust you shall return." But the solitary way that he is experiencing his dust and sin actually draws him away from God. He has part of what is needed for Lent, but he's not yet willing to enter into a relationship with love. He prefers to be alone in his extreme penitence and contrition. Quick-eyed love is on it in a nanosecond. He sees the speaker's soul draw back and asks, "What do you lack?" This is actually the traditional English calling phrase for innkeepers and street sellers, usually tantamount to, "What can I sell you?" but here spiritualized with a real love and concern for the good of the guest. Speaker says, "A guest worthy to be here." It's a self-abnegating remark, a sort of lousy attempt at a joke, except the tone of self-pity doesn't make it very funny. Love's response to this, "You shall be he." Sort of like, "No, you're the one I've been expecting, middle-aged, sort of graying around the temples. Yes, you're the one." God is intensely personal, encountering us in our uniqueness, as in the philosophy of personalism that inspires the hospitality of the Catholic worker. This is not to say that God is anthropomorphic. She, he, love is more than personal. The personal deepened and intensified in a way that is still a bit beyond our imagination. Love has said, "You shall be he," and the speaker says, "I, the unkind, ungrateful, ah, my dear, I cannot look on thee." The speaker is in the presence of the overwhelming power of love. It's as if it is blinding him. He cannot look at it. He averts his eyes. Emily Dickinson says, "The truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind." My favorite line in the poem is the next one. Love, smiling, took my hands and did reply, "Who made the eyes but I?" I think we can appreciate that even in this fairly earnest poem, there is a bit of a joke here. In this case, a good joke. You have to hear the pun. Who made the eyes but I? And imagine a kind of divine smile. Love, smiling, took my hand. One can even hear in the speaker's retort, "Truth, Lord," the sense of, "Good one, da-da-da." Like any self-respecting literature professor, the first thing I did when preparing some thoughts on Lent was what? I looked up the etymology of the word. I was expecting something dark, penitential, maybe something to do with slowness, but it actually comes from the Old English word "lenctum," which means spring. It's probably related to our word long, because in spring the days get longer. Lent is integrally tied to Easter. It is a spring practice, a spiritual spring cleaning that prepares us for Easter. And in the Eastern Orthodox Church, the first thing that would happen on Easter morning was that the priest would tell a joke. He would tell a joke, and the laughter of the congregation was supposed to scare the devil away, scare away the darkness to make way for the light. It was called the Paschal laugh. So it's a good joke, but the speaker is too self-isolated to laugh, preferring to remain in the mode of shame. Let my shame go where it doth deserve. Love, perhaps just a bit irritated that he didn't appreciate the joke, says with a bit of exasperation, "And know you not who bore the blame?" The speaker's shame here is solitary, egotistical, suffering. Poor me. Without the greater sense that the divine, taking on human form, has completely and totally understood human suffering. In fact, better than any human individual ever could. At this point, the speaker is really pinned into a corner, and as sort of the last chance for the solipsist, blurts out, "Ah, my dear, then I must serve." The speaker basically wants to try and expiate his guilt by running off to work at a soup kitchen 7 days a week. Now, as Sister Linda said, works of charity, of course, have always been and always should be an important part of Lenten practice. He's getting closer, but love is not going to let him go. If I give all I have to the poor, but have not love, I gain nothing. The speaker has to be in a relationship with love, with others. He has to receive with a sense of gratefulness, the kind of gratefulness that Father Gary was talking about in the Christmas homily. Gratefulness, it has been said, is the heart of prayer. He has to turn from berating himself to opening himself to the love that moves the sun and the moon and the other stars. "You must sit down," says love, "and taste my meat." So I did sit and eat. So, certainly, Lent is a time for reflection about what we lack, a time for self-scrutiny, the awareness of the terrible incompleteness, the sin and dust, in plain terms, of a self-centered existence. But self-flagellation in any degree is just another form of narcissism. In one liturgical prayer for the blessing of the ashes, they are explicitly thought of as a sacred substance, a springtime sign of healing. The ashes that we bear from this service are indeed a sign of healing and springtime when we bring the recognition of our own separation back into the inn of hospitality, relationship, and divine love.